Sai Ram. We'll just start with the prayer. Om. 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 Granatva Ganapatikum Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvanutibhissidasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajanivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatye Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Shanti 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 Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us all be together. Let us all be nourished together. Let us all work together with great vigor. May our studies illumine our intellects. May we not contradict or hate each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of Veda Mata, Veda Purusha, Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba. Dear sisters and brothers, thank you for joining this Veda webinar series called VedaRasa, the sweetness, essence, and juice of the Vedas. Tonight, we are going to dive into the beautiful ocean of the Gayatri Mantra, and we have our dear brother Neeraj and dear sister Prasanta that is going to share the essence of this beautiful and powerful chant with us. I now hand you over to them. Sai Ram.
Om Saram and welcome everybody. I'm just going to share screen. Okay, so I'm going to do the introduction. Today we're going to talk about the Gayatri Mantra and unpack it. And with VedaRasa and Vedas for All, there's all these series of webinars that are going to take place. And Brother Kavi gave us all options of what chant we'd like to unpack in the coming weeks and who would like to do which chant. So we chose the Gayatri Mantra. And we chose it because it's quite popular. Everybody does it every day at least. And sometimes it can be overlooked because we are chanting it every day. So it can become quite mechanical. And it has this immense power and benefit. And sometimes when you think about the Vedas and you talk about it, it's not really something that you consider. You consider maybe Rudram and the other chants, but Gayatri Mantra is not something that really comes to mind naturally. So this is why we chose it, because it's something that we should focus a lot on. And as a second episode of VedaRasa, I think it's quite appropriate. Okay, so tonight, we're going to go through a few points about the Gayatri Mantra. So what is the Gayatri? There's two different types of sciences we're going to cover. Science of Gayatri and science of Gayatri. And then we're going to go into the Gayatri in the different religions and Gayatri in the day-to-day life. And in between, we'll have some stories, we'll have some poll questions that you can participate, so it'll be a bit interactive. And we'll also have a Q&A or discussion at the end. So we hope you enjoy. So kicking off, maybe as an icebreaker, is our first poll. So this question is, how many times a day do you chant the Gayatri Mantra? I don't think there's a wrong answer, but the options are daily, multiple times a day, weekly, or I don't chant the Gayatri mantra. So we'll give everybody a minute to vote. Okay, from that quick poll, everybody or most people selected multiple times today. That's a great answer. I'm glad that nobody has said, I don't chant the Gayatri mantra. It's very nice. It's daily or weekly. So at some point in your week, you are chanting the Gayatri mantra, which is great. I'm now going to hand over to Brother Neeraj, who will cover the next part.
Okay, so we're going to cover first, what is Gayatri? So in order to understand that, it's important to go through the etymology or the origins of where the word Gayatri comes from. So the phrase Gayantam Trayate iti Gayatri. And this is where the word Gayatri originates from. And what this phrase or saying means is roughly that which rescues or protects the chanter is Gayatri. And another interpretation could be Gaya, which means your soul. And Antam Trayate means to protect. So that which protects the soul or life force is Gayatri. And so, quite simply put, Gayatri is something that protects us. And often we hear the phrase that Gayatri is the mother of the Vedas. And when I first heard that, many questions came to mind as to if Gayatri is the mother, who's the father? Is it a whole family? Or why is Gayatri the mother? And when you understand the definition of this, particularly with reference to the word protect, and you ask yourself, what is the role of a mother? A mother is always someone that would protect or nourish you. And just that, so therefore Gayatri is the mother. If you've ever experienced or some stories where if you're a child and you're home alone with your mom and you tell her that you're hungry, she'll very speedily cook something for you. But if you're at home alone with your dad and you tell him you're hungry, he might tell you to order some food or buy a pizza. So very simply, a mother is someone that will always look out to protect and nourish you. And for that reason, Gayatri is considered mother. So we have the beautiful chant, as many of us may know, Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Naf Prachodayat. And quite simply, when we try and understand what is Gayatri, we need to understand what we are actually saying when we recite this. And when we break it down, and a very simple and universal way to explain the meaning, what it means is that resplendent effulgence, or Bhargo Devasya, that pervades all the gross, the subtle, and that life-sustaining force, Savit refers to that, and may that resplendent effulgence illumine our intellect. And I was watching, when we were putting together the slides for this particular webinar, I was watching a video where there's a devotee of Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and he narrates an experience of an interaction that he had with Swami, and where he asked Swami, what is Gayatri? What is all of this lady with these 5 heads, and what does it all mean? What actually is Gayatri? And Swami very simply tells him, Gayatri is light. Gayatri is that. Such a universal explanation, because when we think about light or sunlight or the divine light, that's relevant to everyone and all beings. Everyone needs some sort of light in their lives in order to grow, or whether it's a plant or any life force needs light to nourish and sustain them. And particularly in the South African context with ESCOM, Gayatri's light is one of the most relevant things for us as well. But very simply put, Gayatri is nothing other than light. And Gayatri is about transformation. So it transforms us by illumining our intellect. But what makes it even more powerful than just that is that when we recite this, we're not just asking for Gayatri to illumine our intellect or just the chanter's intellect, but it asks for the collective intellect to be illumined. So if you consider that in an example, the light of 100 bulbs will always be greater or more effervescent than the light of one bulb. And we get asked that resplendent effulgence to illumine our intellect, and not just ours, but the collective society's intellect. And that is why Gayatri is so powerful. It's praying for the collective consciousness to be illumined so that we can eradicate confusion in society. And in this way, through this chant, we can ask for everyone to have or to use or think through a higher mind and not a lower mind. And what that means is that when we face with challenges in life, if we think through a higher mind, we see those challenges as opportunities. And when you have a lower mind, sometimes those challenges maybe you may consider them as intimidating. So therefore, we pray to always have a higher state of mind, or Tiyoyo Naf Prachodayat. And Gayatri is a universal prayer, not relevant only to Hindus or not relevant only to people of Indian origin or culture. And the Gayatri mantra or the prayer does not ask for mercy or pardon, but it asks purely for a clear intellect so that truth may be reflected therein without distortion. Shri Sai Baba has said that it can be used by men and women of all climes and creeds. So irrespective of who you are or where you're from, because it calls upon the glorious power that pervades the sun and all the three worlds to arouse, awaken, and strengthen our intelligence so that it may lead one through intense sadhana to success. A nice analogy of this is, you may have various fruits or vegetables that you can gain different minerals or vitamins from, banana for potassium, or spinach for iron. But another way to do it is that if you grind all these fruits together, you will still get all those nutrients and minerals in a concentrated form. And so Gayatri Mantra is fruit mix concentrate of all of this put together. So we have a very beautiful story of the Gayatri Mantra, and it comes from the epic of the Ramayana, of course. And so the context here is when sage Vishwamitra was asking King Dasha to give him Ram and Lakshman to help him to protect his yagnas. And he has this conversation with King Dasha about, Dasha says, rather take me, my sons are too young, or he was worried about their health. And then eventually Vishwamitra tells him, listen, I have resolved to perform a sacred ritual or yajna. And and he says to him, as soon as I start in the forest, evil spirits and demons will assemble from nowhere, and they'll obstruct me and cause sacrilegious obstructions. And they'll cause all kinds of hindrances to this. And he wants Rama and Lakshman to ward off the demons, and so that he can finish his prayer, successfully. And that's the purpose and his desire solely. So after interacting with Dashatha, eventually, he says, fine, you can have them both and they can go with you. And as they leave with Sage Vishwamitra, they reach a particular river. And at that point in time, the sun was already starting to set. And Sage Vishwamitra tells both Rama and Lakshman to go and do the ceremonial washings of their hands and feet in the river. And he says to them, I will impart two mystic mantras that form the crown jewels of all mantras to you. They are named strength and super strength, or Bala and Ati Bala. And in many discourses, various devotees have shared that, that's actually variations or actually just the Gayatri mantra itself. And Vishwamitra tells them these are both charged with tremendous power. They will restore freshness to you, however tired you may be. They will prevent exhaustion, or however heavily you exert yourselves. They will not allow illness to approach you. They will save you from all demonic forces. And whenever you are journeying, they will, if you recollect them, keep hunger and thirst away as well. They'll bestow good health on you and shower joy and enthusiasm on you. So these are the strengths of the mantra that he tells Ram and Lakshman, and he teaches them this. And that was none other than the Gayatri Mantra. So the Gayatri Mantra enables Vishwamitra to use rare weapons, which bow to his will when the mantra was repeated with faith. And if you think about the significance of this, obviously at that point, Vishwamitra also knew that Rama was an incarnation of the divine, but still, Rama accepts this as an offering from him just to show how powerful this particular mantra is. So that in a very quick nutshell is just what Gayatri is all about, what some of the high level meaning is, and how it can really impact in our lives. So we're going to go to our next polling question, which is on the screen, but I'll also launch the poll for everyone to select. So who was the Rishi that downloaded the Gayatri Mantra? here, and I think there's quite a few people that responded. And so the answer is Vishwamitra. So we break up the meaning of the word Vishwamitra. It means friend to the universe. So Mitra is friend and Vishwa is universe or all. So that's why he got the name sage or Vishwamitra, because for giving Gayatri to the world, he became known as a friend to all, or friend to the universe. Okay, so in our next section, we're going to briefly talk about some of the science behind the Gayatri mantra. So there's been actually a lot of research done, and we found some published research articles on how the Gayatri mantra has actually helped people around the world, and they've done this in various scientific ways or studies of collecting data. And research has shown that chanting the Gayatri mantra can have very positive impacts on individuals who currently experience depression, anxiety, stress, or anger. So it can help to alleviate some of these symptoms. It can also help to reduce them or help you manage them a lot better. So, for example, for stress, I mean, there's strong evidence from the research and the published research that shows that practicing the mantra meditation effectively relieves stress. It shows that it's decreasing stress levels, especially in hypertensive patients. For anger, in the research, it was found that chanting the Gayatri mantra for 15 minutes helps reduce state of anger or any angry expressions, and helps you to actually focus better in inward control of your anger. And for anxiety, as an extract from the research actually here, that clearly shows statistically that before and after, there was a clear reduction in anxiety levels of elderly people after having a process of teaching them how to use the Gayatri mantra in types of situations. So for this particular study, it was done in some developing countries, and they took a group of elderly people who experience anxiety often. It was actually done in I think in one of the Asian countries. And what the table is showing there, that before any of them had this intervention of chanting the Gayatri, quite a few of them experienced at least mild anxiety. And afterwards, I mean, all of them reported having no anxiety symptoms at all. And what they'd done with these candidates was purely just take them through teaching them what the Gayatri is, what it means, how to recite it. And I mean, in times over the study, the candidates would repeat it. And you can see that these anxiety levels all dropped. And for all the other ones, stress or anger, they all have documented research on how Gayatri mantra can actually help you in your day-to-day life. And not only can it help reduce negative impacts, but it can also help improve on positive things such as mental skills, brain activity and concentration, and memory and attention as well. So for all these studies on mental skills, there was significant improvement in the mental skills using various measures of indications or measuring it. On the brain, there's lots of improvements to brain waves, so gamma waves in the brain. Chanting the Gayatri mantra influenced the energy generated in various parts of the brain, helped you to improve your cognition. It also helped to stimulate the brain cells, which led to better concentration. And then on memory and attention, for the subject that they did the research on, that chanting the Gayatri mantra significantly improved their attention and memory domain. So imagine the benefits not just for elderly people, but for anyone. I mean, children at school or at university who are studying, this can help them in their day-to-day studies and helping them to understand the work better, to memorize the work better, help them to pay attention in class better, to keep your mental field sharp and focused. So there's documented research on how Gayatri mantra can help anyone from any form of life. Okay, so Prasanna is going to now take us through the other form of science, the science behind Gayatri. And in this, she'll share various things that Sri Sathya Sai Baba has said about the Gayatri mantra.
Okay. So if the Gayatri mantra is not recited correctly, it has the opposite effect of enveloping the person in darkness. Instead of switching the light on, the light goes off, the light bulb doesn't work. So it's really important that we learn to recite it properly. But if you recite it with love, God then accepts it, and God advises that each word should be pronounced clearly and distinctly without undue haste or hurry. Okay, so the person chanting the Gayatri mantra should not do it casually. It must be done with complete faith and reverence. So Westerners have discovered that when the Gayatri mantra is chanted with the correct rules as laid down in the Vedas, the vibrations produced by the Gayatri mantra visibly illumine the atmosphere around. So Swami tells us the sound of a mantra is as valuable as its meaning. So in the diagram there we have a magnet and a needle is being attracted to the magnet. So the magnet, it represents the mantra and the needle represents our thought. So it's therefore best to chant the Gayatri mantra out aloud and with all the Vedic rules so that the magnet can attract the needle. All our thoughts go there, we're not distracted, and we become focused because we are generating the sound of the Gayatri, which is as immensely powerful as saying it in our heads. Okay, so chanting the Gayatri mantra fosters and sharpens the knowledge-yielding faculty in man. So Neeraj covered that in how it affects our brain and our mind. So Swami says the same thing. And to one who chants the Gayatri mantra regularly and with faith, the Gayatri mantra is the reliever of diseases, which is called Sarva Roga Nivarani Gayatri. The Gayatri mantra wards off all misery, Sarva Dukha Parivarini Gayatri. And the Gayatri mantra is a fulfill of all desires, Sarva Vancha Palashri Gayatri. So the Gayatri mantra will protect us from harm wherever we are, whether in a bus, in a car, in a railway train, in a plane, in a bazaar. And when I was growing up and I had to learn the Gayatri mantra, my dad would make a joke because I think I was really small, so I couldn't say it properly, and I would say Gayatri mantra, and he's like, yes, it's a Gayatri mantra because it will protect you. If you ever feel like nervous or stressed or scared, chant the Gayatri mantra. So like that, it protects us. Okay, so I'm gonna go into a short story. Maybe it might be familiar to some of you, but it's a really powerful story about a real experience that happened in 1985, and how the Gayatri mantra could have prevented this accident from taking place. Okay, so in the year 1985, Dr. Vijay Kumar and several others were with Swami in an interview. So Swami was speaking to all the assembled people. However, he seemed to evince a lot of interest in talking with a 6-year-old girl seated in her mother's lap. So the girl was asking Swami many questions in rapid succession. And Swami was answering all of them with great patience and love. And after a while, Swami gifted her with a photograph of himself. And now the girl wanted to know whether to put the picture in a big frame and hang it on the wall, or should she put it on a small tabletop frame. So Swami says, put it on a small tabletop frame. So she says, Swami, where should I keep it? Should I keep it in my bedroom or in the living room? And then he replies and he says, dear one, keep it on the windowsill in your house, the one where there is direct sunlight. Then you can view it from your study table as well as from the living room. So Swami there revealed his omniscience, because now he's explaining to her exactly what a house looks like and where she should put it in a house. So the conversation went on, and soon the child seemed to be the sole focus for Swami. And after all the while, the mother was sobbing silently but uncontrollably. So Swami allowed her to cry, and everyone in the interview room was amazed at this unique interaction, was wondering why was the mother crying. And if so, to appease everyone's curiosity, Swami informed them in a very soft voice that the girl's father had traveled on board Air India Kanishka. So it dawned on everyone that the girl's father had died in this tragic terror attack and the explosion that occurred on board the Air India flight en route to India from Canada, off the western coast of Ireland. So no doubt Swami was filling the void of that girl by sharing his fatherly love with her. And this is why Swami was spending so much time and giving her so much attention. So Swami also materialized some devotee and gave it to the little girl. And towards the end of the interview, Swami turned towards Dr. Vijay Kumar and said in a matter-of-fact manner, there were more than 250 passengers on board Kanishka or the flight. And even if one of them chanted the Gayatri mantra, the accident could have been averted. And everyone in the interview room just sat in silence, absorbing the profound statement that Swami had just made, that even amongst 250 passengers, one person just chants it, and the whole terror attack and accident could have been prevented. So that's a real touching story of the power of the Gayatri Mantra. Next, we're going to cover Gayatri in all religions. So Brother Neeraj will cover this next section.
Okay, so we've spoken about what Sri Sai Baba or Swami has said, but the Gayatri Mantra is something that's actually universal and available to all mankind, not just Indians, not just those of Hindu faith. And if you look at various other texts from other religious beliefs, they all make mention to something very similar to the Gayatri, asking for light to illumine them, or asking for light or God to lead them on the righteous path. So, for example, from the Quran, a quote that reads as follows: Ya Allah, we pray to you only and need thou help alone. Show us the righteous path, the path of those who are blessed with thou light and grace, and not the wrong path of those who are unholy and worthy of thy punishment. So, I mean, if you just look at that statement, I mean, asking God to lead you, those are blessed with your light, and to lead them on the correct path. I mean, that's what you are asking for when you ask for your intellect to be illumined, to be able to make the right decisions from the right perspective and using the right value base. In Buddhism, they also say surrender to Buddha, the enlightened awareness, surrender to Dhamma, the inner righteousness, or surrender to Sangha, the collective consciousness. So again, this brings about the notion of awareness and consciousness, which isn't restricting the divine to a particular form, but saying that it's all-pervasive consciousness and a collective consciousness that we believe in. In Judaism, they say, "O Jehovah, guide me on the path of religion or righteousness. Show me thy way which is straight, noble, and perfect." Again, asking God to help them to be on the path of righteousness, illumine intellect, or help us to make decisions for the right frame of mind. And even not necessarily a particular religion, but the Shinto, which is a Japanese preaching or Japanese culture, they say, "Oh Lord, our eyes might see indecent things and vices, but our hearts should be free from all evils and impurities. Our ears might hear what is immoral and profane, but our hearts should not perceive anything unholy or wrong." So given that all of these are already the belief systems in some of the major religions or cultures, and if you truly unpack the universal meaning of the Gayatri, where we're talking purely about resplendent effulgence or divine light to illumine us, there's no mention of a particular God. There's no mention of a particular form. There's actually no mention of the word Gayatri in the Gayatri Mantra itself. And if you think about that, there's no reason that a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Jew, a Jewish person, a Japanese person, that chanting this mantra means anything different to what they really believe in their own religions, or what they really believe to be what they're asking for from their divine preceptors of their own religions. And even if you consider not necessarily just religions, but what other famous saints or sages or prolific people have said about the Gayatri Mantra, I mean, it goes way past just Sri Sai Baba, but a lot of the gurus, for example, Swami Sivananda, he says of all the mantras, the supreme and most potent power of powers is the great, glorious Gayatri Mantra. Satguru Keshav Das says Gayatri meditation is the highest form of meditation known in the Vedas. Gayatri is chanted for the attainment of universal consciousness and for the awakening of intuitive powers. Swami Mukundananda says in the Sukla Yajurveda, it is urged to spread the beneficent words of the Vedas to all people without distinction of caste, creed, or sex, even to people of other religions. And now the time has come, as declared by Swami Vivekananda, the Vedas and the Gayatri Mantra must be propagated among all, as before, irrespective of caste, creed, sex, or religion. Women should also perform sandhyas in olden times. So well beyond just any particular organization of faith, I mean, saints of ages have been saying and professing the power of the Gayatri Mantra. And even the Shankaracharya of Kanchipuram says Gayatri is the mother of all the Vedic mantras. People who chant the Gayatri Mantra with affection and devotion are protected. Again, going back to the ground meaning of the word Gayatri, which means to protect you. So beyond just Hinduism, Indian culture, Gayatri has a very profound place in society and in humanity. So Sister Prasanta is now going to take us through Gayatri in our day-to-day life. So we may seem very busy in our day-to-day lives, but how can we actually make it part of our day-to-day life easily?
Yeah. So I think what's great with the Gayatri Mantra, it's a very quick chant, doesn't take much time at all. You can chant so many rounds of it in a couple of minutes. And even with the Vedas, there's not much that you need to do besides make the time to actually sit down and chant. That's all it requires. Nothing more than that. You don't need to necessarily light a lamp or a candle or sit in a very specific spot at a specific time of day. It's anytime, anywhere. So here, the Gayatri mantra should be chanted at dawn, noon, and dusk, in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the evening. And these times are also known as Sandhya Kalam. That is to say, the meeting point between night and day, morning and evening, day and night. So these times are beneficial for spiritual practices. No, we do not have to be bound by these 3 periods of time to chant the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra can be chanted at any time and anywhere. So chanting while taking a bath. So Bhagwan's advice to young people is that they should chant the Gayatri Mantra when taking a bath. And Swami says that when we take a bath, we are cleansing our bodies, therefore we should take the opportunity and cleanse our minds and intellects at the same time. So what I would advise everybody to do, maybe, because when we started like just you reading a bit more and understanding this, the Gayatri Mantra and the chant before we presented tonight, I also did a bit of a self-audit, and maybe everyone should go home and do the self-audit and really think about when you're chanting the Gayatri Mantra, where you are, what are you doing, how many times. It's a good audit to do, because we actually don't, I think we do take it for granted. And maybe after we do the audit, we can say, maybe we can improve on it and where we can improve on it. Okay. And then lastly, chanting the Gayatri Mantra should be done before every meal, when we wake up from the bed and when we go to bed. Again, so as we just going about our day to day, and I mean, you have to take a shower, you have to eat, you wake up, you go to sleep, that's your normal routine. So it's just about taking the Gayatri and making part of that normal routine of yours, and just having these very specific triggers to do it, which shouldn't be that hard because we don't ever forget to eat. I don't know if somebody has gone and completely forgotten about eating for the whole day. But before every meal, and then from waking up to going to bed, very simple, very easy. But yes, I would suggest we go and do a bit of an audit there.
So there's also a few nice experiences or nice stories that we listen to on some of the YouTube channels, where this particular devotee who's been very successful in his life, in his career, in his family life, and he's won all types of accolades. He's got very high business awards. He's got multiple MBA degrees from very high institutions. He's a very successful businessman in his own right. And they interviewed him and they asked him, what is the real secret to all of your success and your abilities? And he gave a very, very unexpected answer that I was not expecting. And he says, he gives all credit of all the success in his life to the Gayatri Mantra. And so the interviewer then asked him, can you elaborate or can you explain more? And he explains that as a young child, he was initiated into the Gayatri Mantra in Indian culture. And ever since then, as part of his day-to-day routine, morning, noon, and night, he chants the Gayatri Mantra at least 3 times. And he says he has nothing else but only to pay all respects of any of his successes only to that particular practice of his. And he says the concept of illumining your intellect and broadening your consciousness is so profound and definitely so real through the chanting of the Gayatri Mantra, that anything in his life successful as he relays it all back to that. And he shared various other experiences where he also was in a particular plane that had some faulty parts, and just by chanting the Gayatri Mantra, they all got out of it. So various instances he recites of his career being successful, of protection being there. And there's actually numerous instances or interviews of various other people who have shared this exact same experience. And that is just the power of the Gayatri Mantra, that bringing it into your day-to-day lives will have profound effects. And I mean, we all eat at least 3 times a day, and that will nourish our bodies and our physical bodies. But what are we actually doing to nourish our mind or mental faculties? And that's where the Vedas and Gayatri Mantra comes to place, because by doing that, that helps us to replenish and help us to realign our mental faculties. Yeah, so that's all that we really wanted to share with you today. We're happy to have questions, and it doesn't also only have to be questions. It can also well be anyone that wants to share a story or an experience. But before we go there, we'll just launch our last polling question to see if hopefully being part of this tonight has inspired you in some way to take this upon into your day-to-day life of chanting the Gayatri. Okay, beautiful. Seems like a lot of people are feeling inspired to make it part of their daily routine. Beautiful. I see there's a question in the chat from Sister Popsy. The question is it correct that the Gayatri mantra must be chanted in 11 seconds? So to be honest, I haven't heard of a particular time frame, but I think when you follow the meter or the weights prescribed in the Vedas, it will result to be doing this particular time, but I'm not sure if 11 seconds is that exact time. Maybe Brother Kavir or someone of the other panelists, if you have any insights, please do share on that question.
Sairam, brother, and Sairam, dear sisters and brothers. At the outset, we'd just like to thank Brother Neeraj, Sister Prasanta for such a beautiful sharing of the Gayatri Mantra. And it's such a incredible ocean, and we've been able to experience through the sweet droplets this evening and encapsulate the entire ocean through the wonderful, positive, practical manner in which it was shared tonight, and all the research and the beautiful presentation. Thank you both so much. Auntie Popsy has asked a very interesting and wonderful question. Can it be chanted in 11 seconds? I think we can apply how Vedas in general is chanted. If we look at, for example, during the Ati Rudra Mahayajnam, the Rudram, all the various anuvaks by the respective acharyas that came for the program, they were chanting different speeds. But on one particular day, I'll always remember this very wonderful experience as Brother Dharmesh was sitting next to me, and we actually timed the entire Namakam was chanted in 7 minutes, which generally takes maybe 15 to 18 minutes, as you all may have experienced yourself. But the two priests that were leading it were chanting it at 7 minutes, the entire Namakam. And I think what we can take from that is, irrespective of the speed or the tempo of any chant that is offered, what's most important is that we can chant on scale, and the intonations at the various syllables are respected at all times. So that's quite important. But I think the aspects of 11 seconds might allude to what Swami has said about 11 seconds, that if you concentrate on God for 11 seconds, God will appear before you. He has said in 2007 for a youth conference in Prashanti Nilayam. So I'm not sure, it might link to that as well. Sairam.
Sure. Thanks, Brother. Beautiful. I don't see any other different questions. Brother Kashen, as panelist, maybe you would like to share something?
Hi, Ram. So something which that I think is quite interesting, which Swami said about the Gayatri Mantra, is that it's like, so if we chant the Gayatri Mantra 3 times a day, so during the morning, noon, or evening, this serves kind of to reduce the effects of the wrong acts or the karma that we've done on that day. Swami says that it's like buying goods for cash instead of getting them on credit. He says that there's no like accumulation of karmic debt for that day. So everything that's done on that day, so it's like you're not carrying karma forward, bad karma forward from what you've done for the day. So it's kind of, if you do it on a daily basis, you're kind of going through life, while going through life, like if you're doing anything bad, you're clearing your karma on the days, on a daily basis. So I think it will help us in terms of progressing on our spiritual path as well. Sairam.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Brother Kashen. Brother Kabir.
Thank you, brother. Another question has come through from Veena Ben. Must the Gayatri Mantra be chanted aloud? Brother Neeraj and Sister Prasanta, do you want to allude to this? I think in your presentation, you're sharing around the vibration aspect.
Happy. So, I mean, Serena, I'll share my perspective on it. So I think when you consider what's actually happening when you're chanting Vedas or any mantra, is that, I mean, you're creating a vibration, and it's that vibration that carries the energy and the healing energy into the world. So, I mean, just like, for example, when you chant Rudram at the army or anywhere, we always had this practice to be on a particular scale and be in sync with each other to create that profound vibration. So I think one of the benefits is, if you do it loudly, that vibration is created and spread out to the universe. So that'd be my perspective of it on it, Sister Veena.
I think for myself, because I haven't mastered my mind yet, and sometimes if I am chanting the Gayatri mantra not aloud in my head, then my mind will still wander and do its own thing, and I'll be thinking about something else, but I'm trying to also mentally chant, and then you're not going to get the full effect of it. So chanting aloud will help your mind become more focused on the chant and concentrate on the chant. So that in addition to the vibration, you also just have your mind more focused.
Okay. Thank you. So there's also another question from Anonymous on why there's so many variations of chanting, so which is the correct one. So again, happy to share my perspective on this. So if you think about it, we have the way that's prescribed in the Vedas, and for those of you who may be part of the beginner's course, I mean, that's the way that was the text that was included at least. And obviously also we all may be familiar with the way that that Swami or Sri Sathya Sai Baba has chanted it. So my perspective on that would be to either choose one way of doing it. So choose the way that Swami has said it and perfect that, and that's the way you should say it, or stick to the way it's then been prescribed in the Vedas to chant. But I think it's important to choose one and not be in between of them. So choose the one that you feel suits you or you're happy with, and stick to that and perfect that, rather than having your own or other variations. So I think that would be my perspective on the different versions. And if you really compare the versions between Swami's recording and the way that it's being taught in some of the beginners classes, I mean, it's only a few subtle differences. I think in the words Varenyam and Prachodayar in particular, I mean, Swami doesn't go Varenyam, but he emphasizes on the M part, so Varenyam. And on Prachodayar, I think in the Yajur Veda style, they'll say Prachodayar At, and in Swami's recording, he doesn't necessarily do it in that manner. And when I did my own research into some of the different variations or recordings, one of the talks that I came across shared that when Swami was doing that version, there was a lot of, you would initiate quite a few students into the mantra itself. And for the purposes of initiation, that would be the right way for him to have chanted it. So that might be, hopefully that helps you in understanding that aspect. Brother Kabir, you wanted to share something else?
Sure, brother. I really liked how earlier you mentioned Gayatri being mother of the Vedas, as it says, Gayatri Chandasa Mata. And you mentioned how the wonderful analogy of the mother making nourishing meal and the father ordering a pizza. And this, I know it was a coincidence, but a few days ago I had to make a meal for my little one, and he wanted a pizza. And I was thinking how to make some vegetables nourishment besides the tomato sauce, how to include lots of these other vegetables. So I took a lot of vegetables and mixed it into the tomato sauce and put it on the pizza, and he didn't know. And when he ate the margarita, he got hopefully all the nourishment of the other veggies as well. And if we think about it, like they say, dynamite comes in small packages. The Gayatri mantra is, just few, as Gayatri Chanda is just 24 syllables, but the profound impact it has. And I think the very important aspect, as Sister Prasanta mentioned, when we're chanting it, where is our presence? Where are we in our mind? And if we just are very present when we are chanting it, irrespective of what we are doing, and we pour faith into the mantra, each syllable is honored, respected, and even mentally chanting it loudly, but the vibration coming through and feeling one with the chant, as the chant is mantra drashta. The rishis were known as mantra drashtas, that they actually had the vision of the chant come to life. So I think as we go through this beautiful mantra, it becomes a part of our life, and we're able to see it manifest in every aspect as well. And not only that, when we are chanting the Gayatri mantra, as with all Vedas, Veda is truly a seva, because it's spreading throughout the home, the street, the community, society, country, nation, and world and universe at large. So it's really helping all of creation with positive vibration. Saidam.
Brother Kishen, you had?
So just an important point on the variation of the chanting. So the way that Swami does it and the way that's done in the Surya Upanishad is that the meaning doesn't change. So for instance, the certain accentuation on the Varenium doesn't change the meaning. In comparison to, for instance, you'll hear a lot of people chanting Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, which is incorrect because the Swaha means offering, or please Lord accept the offering, whereas Suvaha refers to the soul or the spiritual realm. So asking that we, in this case, please will you illumine the different types of realms, our spiritual realm, and not the Swaha, which is the offering. So just one point to note on the variation, that the variation, there are different variations, but as long as the meaning doesn't change in the two ways, between the way Swami chants and the way that is done in the Surya Upanishad. Saram.
Beautiful. I think that's an important point as well for the question asked on the different variations.
Yeah.
Meaning is very important. All right, I don't see any other questions. If anyone on the call would like to share anything, you're also welcome to. I think you can raise your hands. If you have any experiences or stories or anything you'd like to share as well, you're more than welcome to.
Saidam, brother. I'm just reminded of what took place in Cape Town a few years ago when we had that drought. And it was quite a historic circumstance and unprecedented as well. It made international news. And I'm sure those who resided in Western Cape remember those days of conserving every droplet. And it also made us aware of just how we should also respect nature and ensure that man's greed is never greater than his need, and putting ceiling on desires on all of aspects, and not wasting water as well. It's been a wonderful lesson, and I'm sure you remember those days where we did this beautiful Gayatri Homam, and we all came together and we chanted for almost the entire day, the Gayatri mantra. And some may call it a coincidence, or some may call it a coincidence. Thereafter, a week later, the rain started to come, and there was water available, and we didn't reach that day zero. So that was also just an amazing experience of just seeing the power of prayer, the power of the Gayatri mantra come to life. And just thought we'd share it this evening. So,
Thanks, Brother Gayatri. I see there was a few more questions coming through on the meaning of the word savitur, as well as can you chant the Gayatri when you are angry? Okay, so maybe on the meaning of the word savitur as I know it, that sort of refers to that divine light, or that resplendent effulgence. That's what savit is referring to, and that's yeah. I mean, again, that's as you want it to be, with its the divine light, or the sunlight, whatever it is, that nourishing light that gives us all a source of growth and nourishment. That's the meaning as I understand it, Sister Legendary. Kabir, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
beautifully explained, brother. Thank you so much. Yes, as you've mentioned, it's just such and your Sister Prasanta alluded to this times of load shedding. And as it says in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirkamaya, from darkness lead us to light. And this is truly a prayer that gives us luminance, radiance, and brilliance, inwardly and outwardly. So even during the times of the load shedding, we shouldn't have this spiritual load shedding. The light should always be radiating, and as it's definitely a prayer of effulgence and luminance, and it can remind us that we are also divine beings filled with this light. As Swami says, the Gayatri mantra also reflects the four Mahavakyas of the Vedas, which is Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Pragyana Brahma, and I am Atma Brahma, which just says that we are God, we are divine, we are one with Creator. Brother and sister, a question has come from Sister Charlene from the YouTube live. If you could please recite the Gayatri mantra.
Okay, so maybe just like read just some question on can you chant it when you are angry? So I mean, I don't see why not, right? I think all of the research has shown that it'll actually help you to alleviate, I think, your anger, and not just anger. I think any sort of symptoms of depression, sadness, sickness, any Vedic chant, or a lot of the Vedic chants with the vibrations it creates can help you through that. But I think what's important is if you are going to chant it when you are angry, is that you still chant it with the correct, in the correct manner. So whether you want to do it the way Swami does it in his recording, or whether you want to do it in the prescribed way as the Vedas show it. Because remember, in the slideshow we show that you need to ensure that you do it in the correct way so that it has the correct impacts on you. I think even in perhaps that state of mind, if you are in that state of mind, just to make sure that you're doing it in the correct way, I think that will have profound effects on that as well. Before we do the chant, Kavir or Kashen, do you want to add anything on to the angry question.
Sure, brother. A thought comes to mind. If we just look at the different ages, Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, how there was goodness that only existed, and then goodness and sort of the darker forces were more geographical. We had Ayodhya, and then we had Lanka, and then it became in the Dwapara Yuga, it became in the family as well with the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And Swami says in the Kali Yuga, there is good and bad within each, and God has not come for annihilation. As every time I'm sharing with my son Ved about these stories about uh, Lord coming as Narasimha and annihilating Hiranyakashipu, and Krishna came to remove Kansa, and Rama came to remove Ravana. But in this time of this Kali Yuga, it's not about annihilation, but rather transformation. And when we look at the what Baba has asked or pleaded for the entire world to chant is the Vedas and Rudram as well in particular. It's all about this energy moving from anger to love, and it's like energy. It's like a knife. The surgeon uh, can use it to heal, and somebody else can use it to harm. So all this energy within us can also be transformed in the right way. Anger can be transformed into love, and definitely the Gayatri Mantra can be a catalyst for that. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. So there's also another question, but we'll do maybe the chant first, and then we can explain. Brother Kishan, maybe you can help with the last question since you mentioned it, the difference in meaning of Swaha and Suvaha. So the way that we've been learning it as part of the courses is like this. Om Bhurбhuvah Suvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Okay, I hope that helps. Brother Kishan, you want to assist on the question on the Swaha Vasubha?
Sure. So Swaha, for instance, when you're doing a Hawan, at the end of at the end of the line, we would say Swaha. So this is referring to an offering. So in the case is when you chant a specific line or mantra, and then you say Swaha at the end and put in into the Hawan Kun, the Samagri, it's as an offering to the Lord to say, please accept my offering. Whereas the Suvaha refers to the spiritual realm or like the soul or something. So in the Gayatri Mantra in the first line, when we say Om Bhurбhuvah Suvaha, it means please, Lord, we meditate on the Lord of the Creator. Please illumine all the three different realms. So the physical, the mental, the spiritual. So Suvaha meaning that spiritual realm or the soul. I'm not sure, does that clarify the meaning of those two words?
I think so. Thanks for the question. And there's also a comment that come through. I'm just going to read it from Fiona. Just a comment that one of our most senior ladies shared recently at Midland Sadhana Camp, that it's so important to see Gayatri, to see Mother Gayatri as the mother of all mothers at all times, and treat her as our friend, and talk to her when we are doing anything and everything as an ever-listening mother who responds to our call. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Sister Fiona. Yeah, I agree. The Gayatri is the mother, divine mother. Sorry, question to you, is there an F sound at the end of Naf? So I think if you just look at the way that the Sanskritam language is there are some rules that follow in the way that it's written on the sounds. So yes, there is a F sound between the two, purely because in the language on the text, there's an H followed by the letter P, which on high level becomes sort of like a silent F when you are pronouncing it. So that is the reason that there's an F sound in that particular line. Okay, I'm just mindful of the time. I think we're already at 9. But thank you everyone for joining and sharing and asking all your questions. I hope that we're all feeling more inspired on really making the Gayatri Mantra, which is such a simple a mantra which doesn't require a lot of time, but has such profound impacts. We all try to make it part of our day-to-day life. I'm going to hand back over to Brother Kabir for the closing parts of tonight's webinar.
Thank you so much, Brother Neeraj, Sister Prasanta, for again expounding so beautifully on the essence and the nectar and the ambrosial beauty of the Gayatri. I think it has opened our hearts to so many wonderful perspectives and just reminded us how profound and beautiful this prayer is. And would like to thank all the sisters and brothers who have joined on Zoom and YouTube virtually and spiritually this evening. And would like to hand over now to Brother Kashen, who shall do the closing prayer. And before that, would just like to remind all the sisters and brothers who are residing in Gauteng that next weekend, next Saturday, there will be a Veda workshop taking place. And if you'd like to attend, please do contact us on 082-825-6732, and we will send you the registration form. Thank you so much, and we'll hand over to Brother Kashen. Sairam.
ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। May the